Stronger Together, Strengthening Relationships During a Pandemic. Hi, I'm Stacy-Ann Smith with you for what I promise will be an engaging and lively conversation with my panelists this afternoon. I tell you, they are raring to go because we started the conversation before, and let me tell you something, it's amazing already, but let me just introduce you to my panelists. Stacy-Ann Richards is a guidance counselor and an author of the book, Healing Infidelity in Marriages. I also have another author here with us, Colleen Diedrich, and she's just looking fly, I'm telling you. She happened to there, right? And the lone thorn among the roses, Gavin Goff is a father, family man. Let me tell you about hands-on with his son and things. So he's going to be talking about just family and relationships. And guys, as you know, and as our participants and those who are joining us via Zoom know, this has been a rough year. Any way you want to flip it and look at it, it's been a tough time for families and for relationships in general. And so we thought it was a good idea for us to sit down and just have a wrap session. We want to thank you for joining us via Zoom. Please participate. We want to hear your questions and comments. Put them in the chat. We will be following along and responding and engaging with you in the chat. Let me also acknowledge our partners and sponsors. We want to big up Sagicor for coming on board and for helping us to make this possible. We're also going to get some information from our Sagicor representative, a gorgeous lady who is offset, waiting to come on to share some nuggets. We're going to ask her some tough questions about how to manage money, because we know that's a big thing for us at this time, but she's going to come up later. But right now, we want to talk about, let me just remind you real quick, for those who are participating, there is a free claim, $5 courtesy of Gustazos, our amazing partner. So make sure you go ahead and claim your $5. Guys, let's get right into it. Assessing the impact of COVID. Gavin, I feel like I want to start with you.
All right.
Give me a sense, I mean, from your colleagues, other parents that you know, what would you say has been the biggest impact on families?
Just having the kids inside the house, you know. We pay all this money to have somebody else look after our kids. And all of a sudden now they're telling us that we need to look after them ourselves. Yeah. So we get these emails telling us what we can do with our children. And we can't do half the stuff that these teachers are sending us to do, much less how to guide our children in it. And so added that to your own stress of your own work and everything, I don't know, it's sending a lot of us crazy, you know. Thankfully, I only have a 2.5-year-old son. So there really isn't much that they could tell me on the internet to do with him. But still, you know, he was just getting into the rhythm of his preschool and, you know, being able to spend time with the friends he was making, right, as much as, you know, you can make friends at 2 years old. And so that disruption as well, you know, causes a little anxiety. You know, we're trying to get people to see if they can come in and you know, work with him and maybe some other kids and stuff like that. So just overall though, I mean, if it's hard for us, you know, as adults to be managing this disruption, you can imagine for younger children. So yeah, the biggest part has really been the fact that school not keep, and that's the hardest thing.
And for you, Stacy-Ann, I mean, your son is older. Talk to me a little bit about, we're going to get into parenting some more, but talk to me a little bit more about just the dynamic of the family, making sure that everybody is okay.
Well, as you said, my son is 11 years of age, and pre-COVID, I had trained my son to assert himself. So to be honest, it's less stressing on me in that he assimilates getting up, getting dressed for school. He dresses his own self. He can make his own breakfast and he's ready for school. Actually, he doesn't want to go back face to face.
Really?
He has said that to me. He just wants to see his high school. He's on his way to high school soon. And he wants to see that because that's a new school. But he says, Mommy, I don't want to go back to school. I'm okay being at home. He's happy. He's extremely happy. But for the dynamics, what has changed a bit is that we are a bit more closer. We exercise. He is like my brother, my sister. The relationship we have is more a very vulnerable relationship because we're in the same space for longer periods of time. You can't go and hide an emotion. You can't hide your anxiety because he's seeing and reading all of that. So it has drawn us closer together in that we're in a vulnerable space together, experiencing the emotions together, and we support each other. He says, Mommy, you ready to exercise now? I want to come and exercise with you.
Is that
And we
typical,
exercise
Colleen?
together.
Is that typical?
Very much so. I think if it is that we recognize in this pandemic that there is an opportunity here available to all of us, especially as family, then it will change the way that we look at it. A lot of us are preoccupied with what's happening with the economy because it is, in truth and in fact, impacting a lot of families, the finances. Some people have lost their jobs or have had to deal with pay cuts. However, in my own unit, right, and my unit is myself and my child, my 16-year-old daughter. The biggest nuisance is not being able to see her friends. But we're not inundated with the news. I can barely tell you what's happening. I'm not keeping up to date with the numbers and all of this stuff. We observe protocol, where necessary, but for the most part, we are utilizing this opportunity to get closer. So it's a chance for us to talk. It's a chance for us to play. We're not under complete lockdown and quarantine and shut off. So we are still able to mingle and make much of other people. And so it's not as, and I hear what everybody else is saying. The hardest part, however, is more that the Zoom classes.
Oh, girl.
That's more the nuisance than it is anything else.
Girl.
No, the Zoom class and wanting her out of the space sometimes because I am now working at home.
Yeah. And I tell you, that for me has been the biggest challenge. As Gavin said, you pay a lot of money to get
Send
them so that you can compartmentalize and you come home and you have that us time and then you have some you time. Now it's everybody together all the time. In the initial stages, it was very difficult for me and the children. I have teenagers as well, a 19-year-old and a 16-year-old. And so my daughter misses her friends tremendously. My son misses his friends. He's also in a transition year where he started university in September. And it's going to a new phase and still not seeing anybody or interacting with anyone. So that has been tough on him. And then it is, at first, trying not to kill each other in the house. No, man. Let me tell you, you were underfoot. And then, I'm a neat freak, so I needed to be this and that. It was a thing. So we had to kind of dial it back a little bit. And we had an actual conversation about it. My son said, Mom, we have to talk.
Wow.
And we had the conversation. But as you said, it's been a blessing in some ways because we have found our way to a point where we can talk more, we share more. As you said, we live in a community where we can come outside and walk. So we go for walks. I say to them, guys, we have to get some vitamin D today, which is very important for your mental health. So we come out and we go and we take a walk. 15, 20 minutes and then you come back inside and sometimes we walk in the evening. So it's allowed us to really connect more in a way that we weren't doing before. Because as you know, with the fast-paced world, you go to work and you come home. You really just come home to eat and sleep and then get up to do it all over again tomorrow. So it really has helped. But Colleen, if you could share some nuggets for us, for those people who may not have found that rhythm from a relationship standpoint, shifting a little bit from the children, looking at spouses, husband and wife, or your committed relationships. How do you cope? Because we've seen the statistics, we've heard that relationships are not surviving. How do you cope? First of all, how do you recognize that something is not right?
Well, again, there is a lot of undue pressure on relationships as a result of what's going on. I mentioned earlier that some persons are having to survive, the loss of their income, right? Having to be in the same space when it is that they had challenges in the relationship. So it was getting away to work was an opportunity not to have to deal with and contend with what was actually happening there emotionally. So now to be forced in that space, trying to navigate, all right, what exactly is happening, having to deal with the elephant in the room. Yeah. For a lot of persons, that's a big deal, right? And so what I say to people who find themselves in this situation, really it is to utilize this opportunity to speak. Let's talk about what's happening. Also to take some breaks, because this constant talking can also, serve to agitate the situation, right? So know when it's okay to, you function from in the kitchen today, I'm working from in the living room. Or I am working in the bedroom, right? Or I'm on the veranda, this kind of a thing, and rotate. Sometimes it's okay just to not be in each other's face so much. You get what I mean? Sometimes it is the only difference, is the saving grace. It is the thing that prevents you guys from arguing. So understand, especially for a lot of the women who are very clingy at this time, it's a time of uncertainty. You want to talk about how many, the numbers, and for the people who are inundating themselves with the news and the local news and overseas, that kind of a thing. You want to share, you want to talk, you want to vent. Yeah, and for a lot of women, we emote. And so that's a lot for a man. Yeah. Because men process internally. They will come out and they can talk a little bit or whatever else. So for a woman who's constantly talking about, and that I heard that Janet's grandmother is suffering from it now. And after a while, it's like, oh God, woman, shut up. Yeah. You know what I mean? and some men will actually say it, and then that's reasons, exactly, that's reasons to argue. Yeah. So my thing is,
it wouldn't fly in your house at all.
No, you know what? No, don't say that. Sometimes some women need to hear that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, too much. Call your virgin, call your friend, just go handle that someplace else. But it's understanding, and it gives couples an opportunity to negotiate, boundaries, right? Sure. It's okay for him to say, I don't want to hear that right now. Yeah. The fact that we are together don't mean that I need to bear all of what's coming out.
But Colleen, that only works, and correct me if I'm wrong, that only works if you've had a specific kind of foundation before you're now put in a pressurized situation, because in many instances, that's what COVID has meant. It's putting you now in a pressure cooker. So your relationship was iffy and dodgy before, and now you're stuck in this, and I use stuck because I've heard people say that, my God, I'm stuck with the man all day and I can't take it. How do you then navigate that?
Again, it's coming up with creative ways, right, to fill your cup and still have conversation going. Again, not to depend so heavily on your significant other for conversation and engagement, right? But to also seek that elsewhere. And we were doing it. We were seeking that kind of, engagement elsewhere. The other thing too, as I mentioned before, is now it finally gives us an opportunity to talk. What exactly is going on with you? I've been noticing you. It gives us an opportunity to get deeper, because even conflict is a good thing. Yeah. Because in conflict now, we put down for peace sake, and I actually get to tell you how I feel about this and that and that.
No, you
right?
need to say
and
Gavin
so,
face.
I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you the truth. And if it is that we are stuck in the house, you can't drive out to the bar. No. So we go exactly. You can't drive out to the bar. Worse with curfew, right? So now you're going to breeze off on the back, and then chances are you're going to come in and say, "All right, baby, let's talk." And if it is that we are in the confines of this small space for a protracted period of time, at some point we must be able to talk. Yeah. So I think it gives us an opportunity to talk, for you to listen to me and for me to listen to you.
So I'm gonna talk a little bit. I want us to talk more about that space issue, because Gavin is around here saying, "Oh God, I don't know about that because I'm not so sure." But we're gonna come back and talk more about that issue of the confined space, because the reality is you have many people, many Jamaicans, and even in other places who don't have the luxury of space. So you already were living in close quarters, and now it's even closer. Guys, remember, for those who are with us on Zoom. We want to hear your comments. We want to hear your questions. Please put them in the chat and so we can respond. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Wealth is a state of mind that inspires you to take that first bold step, to chase your dreams with passion. Unleash the power we all have inside and change your world with our range of top-performing funds that match your investment style. Let Sigma Global Funds give you the drive and confidence to leap into a whole new level of investment performance. Think wealth. Think Sigma Global Funds, only from Sagicor Investments.
Stronger together, strengthening relationships during a pandemic. I'm Stacy-Ann. I have Desi-Ann, Colleen, and Gavin with me, and we are having a conversation about how COVID has impacted our families and just some of the ways we can survive. Now, I can tell you, Gavin don't really agree with all of what Colleen has been saying. So I'm going to allow him to tackle that issue before we get into the confined spaces.
Well, let me give some context, right? Mm-hmm. I know my wife when we're 11 years old, right? We've been together for 18 years, married for almost 12. So when I say that I know certain things would not fly with my wife, I'm talking from a place of years of experience, right?
Yeah.
Yes, there are certain conversations which I should be able to have, you would think. To say, for instance, boy, don't really burden me with that. Go talk to your girlfriends about that. Yeah. But I really wouldn't have anywhere to live at night. So, truth be told, you know, in theory, I agree that, we should be more open.
You want to keep your space,
but you have to use wisdom. You have to use wisdom in this as well. You have to use wisdom in this as well.
I agree.
But I agree there have been a lot of opportunities for us to become closer during this pandemic than we have before. I mean, we have gone to Maiden Key in the middle of the week.
Yes.
And it's just us on this island.
Yeah.
You know, had a fantastic day.
Yeah.
We have, had lunch together more frequently than we normally would have, because I work downtown and she works uptown.
Yeah.
I know more about what's going on her desk now than I ever had.
Yeah.
Right? So, and the same is true where my desk is concerned. So yeah, there are a lot of opportunities. And you're right about setting the boundaries, We have a home office and she has staked her claim that this is her home office. And when she's not in it, I can take a piece off it. But when she's in it, you know that
you have to take for yourself.
You have to take for yourself, you know? I've spent a lot more time cooking than I had before, because...
But you can cook, though, Gavin.
You can cook,
Okay,
Let me tell you something. If you eat my food, you have problem because you're not going to want it.
All right.
So, all of these different things, we're learning more the ways in which we can redefine ourselves and use the knowledge of what works in a relationship and what doesn't work to try and make a plan. And I think the most important part about it is being very deliberate about what you're doing, Because before you had a lot more options. No, you have to really plan very carefully how you're going to spend your weekend. If you're a couple like me and my wife who used to travel very regularly, right? And we haven't been able to travel now for a long, long time. How are you going to make sure you get that fixed? You can't get on a plane, but you can get in your car and you can go see some other part of the island that you've never seen before.
Yes.
You may have realized that there are a whole project that you want to do, some old photos that you had, lying down and you want to put them in an album together. And you sit down and you relive some of the memories of the travel and the past by doing that kind of project. The fact that you don't have all these various options to go and drink at a bar or to spend a lot of socialize differently, it means that you can convert that energy into something very, very powerful within your marriage.
Absolutely.
True.
Yeah. Before the first break, we were talking about feeling confined and recognizing that there are people whose circumstances might be different from others. So you don't have a house with, say, 4 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms. There are lots of people who live in a 1 room or a 2 bedroom kind of scenario.
One bed.
And it is more difficult. How do you navigate that kind of space? I mean, what do you do? Any thoughts on that, Colleen?
Well, the thing is this, right? Again, because we are not experiencing total lockdown, it is possible for you to leave the space. Yeah, it is possible for you to go spend some time with your mother, with your girlfriends. It's possible for you to step away from that space. And so as much as doable, I am suggesting for persons who have to coexist in a 1 bedroom, especially the 1 bedroom scenario, work from the library, hang out by your girlfriends.
Yeah.
Exactly, work from the cafe today.
Yeah.
Right? And we rotate where it is that we're going to work, or even as a unit, both of us can go by the cafe. There are places that are open that you can sit, use their internet, have yourself, buy yourself a meal, sit and chat or whatever else, and just being out of the house.
And speaking of places that you can go, we are in fact at Outpost Republic, and this is one of those co-working spaces where people can come, and you have offices where you can use the kinds of facilities, you have internet and that kind of thing. And so you're right, you really do have to think outside of the box and be creative. Stacy-Ann, share a little bit about your experience, because your husband is in the security forces, would have been on call, on duty when everything locked down. How were you able to stay connected and to navigate at a time like that? Because you do live in St. Catherine, and at one point St. Catherine was totally locked down. You know, what was that experience like? How did you cope?
Well, being the wife of a security personnel, you assimilate the life after a time. You get used to the rhythm of things and the groove of things, and you would have worked out long before how to make it work. For my husband and I, there's 1 day off in the week. And from pretty early, as Gavin said, I was deliberate as a wife. I set a roadmap of how exactly we're going to bond. And my son knows. He gets up and says, today is family day. Yay! He knows whether it's a tin mackerel, it doesn't matter what's happening, we're going to be in one place together and we're going to make it work. So luckily for me, I was used to that life because he's still going to work. So we assimilated a family day. Nothing disturbs that day. That day is a sacred day. It must be his mother's house, something that he can't get out of. But we assimilate that, we set that foundation, and it is precedent, family day.
Yeah. We actually started movie night.
Yes.
You know, it is the greatest challenge to find a movie though that
Everyone.
my son wants to watch, because us girls, me and my daughter, kind of will watch relatively the same thing, but I'm not here for the Christmas specials at all. We're watching this musical last night, and he's like, seriously, mommy? Really, mom? No. And we had to just say, all right, let's find something. So that has been a good thing, I would say, a godsend for us, because we've been, as Gavin said, deliberate about it, and you have to be. So I think that is a major takeaway, just acknowledging that it is what it is, we are where we are. If you really are purposeful about finding the time and finding things to do. And as you said, it don't have to be a lot. It can be one tin mackerel you're going to share.
It means we're in the same space and we're going to share, we're going to talk, we're going to be together in that safe space. Matter of fact, interestingly, I remember one day during the lockdown, I needed a break and I went to the supermarket. I bought elastic, Colleen. I bought every childhood game you could think of. And, usually I'd be so concerned what the neighbors think in Portmore, how I look. I'm a guidance counselor, how you look. But COVID brought that back. And I said, Elijah, outside. I would play Chinese, keep on run up and down because we had to find a way to cope. So we get juice box, and we stuff it.
Dandy
And
shandy.
we dandy shandy down the road, and neighbors were peeping. But I said, listen, I have to survive because
Yes.
your mental health supersedes all of everything else.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's something that I want us to talk about as well, the mental pressure that has been put on individuals and families. We'll talk more in a later segment about the financial side of it because especially for breadwinners and the providers in the family, that's always in the back of your mind, and especially for those persons who would have been laid off, etc. So we're gonna get some insights as to how to cope on that side. But even as we talk about our girls, for instance, who are in, they're both in Colleen's daughter and my daughter. They go to different schools, but they're in fifth form, which means they're in a pivotal year. They're in CSEC year and being in a space where they haven't seen their friends in
9
months.
Minute and a day.
Yeah. I mean, it does take a toll. So first and foremost, how do you identify? What kind of stop and think do you recommend for people who need to just watch that the impact of that? Because sometimes, I mean, culturally, we don't tend to put a lot of focus on mental health, and how things are impacting people emotionally. What are the signs to look for? How do you do that? How do you?
You're checking to see, especially in your children, are they becoming withdrawn? Right? So if you recognize and you know the personalities of your children, right? All of a sudden they're less talkative, they're less engaging, they're not particularly coming out of the room. You have to go in there and dig them out a little bit more than normal. It's time to start paying close attention there. Try to engage them in conversation, try to find out exactly what's going on with them. Start to engage them in things that you know that they enjoy doing. Because again, our one saving grace is that we are not trying to survive a complete and total lockdown. Take them out of the house. So I promised my daughter, her 16th birthday went on November 5th. And I promised her that I'm going to go get your friends.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to go get your friends and we're going to go find a large body of water for the day, right? Everybody order up what them want and jump and frolic to the heart's content. And the parents don't have to worry. I have this. I'm coming to get them. I'm gonna feed them and drop them back off. But this is her, and this is the one thing that she has asked. And she is committed to the studying and really putting her back into it and so on. So give your children something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Take them out of the house. Stop with all of what's going on, because bear in mind and also control your own emotions in terms of what's happening. A lot of us are acting out in front of the children. The panic and the Jesus Christ, how you gonna manage, how this and that. I'm saying pull all of that in, rein all of that in, because they're looking to you for support.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? And if it is that you're losing it, you're frothing at the lips. No, exactly. Then they're in there worried. If you come home and every day you complain, so it's 30% them take off at the salary and geez, they could have barely but make it at the super. There's some things that the children don't need to be privy to.
Go ahead, Colleen.
There's some things that you go survive that as the adult. You get what I mean? But as much as possible, you have them recognize, okay, this is what's happening. These are the things that we must observe as parents. I'm going to make sure that I protect you because that's my job. However, a part of your protection is also seeing to your well-being. And Jamaican parents need to hear that, because your children's well-being is more than food and sleep. It's more than shelter and so on. You also need to talk to these children. Find out, how do you feel about what's going on? Get some conversations happening where you're sitting quiet and hearing from them. Because then they will tell you, Mom, I'm a little overwhelmed with what's happening. You know, a friend called and told me that his father caught it. I'm a little bit afraid. And do some damage control. Tell them it's okay to be afraid.
What kind of damage control, though, do you do?
You tell them that it's okay to be afraid. So you honor their emotions. It's okay to feel the things that you are feeling. It's okay to feel anxious. right? It's okay to be a little panicky. It's okay to miss your friends. This thing here where a lot of us end up chastising them. What kind of panic? Panic? What kind of see you want to see the friend there?
Yeah.
You know, sister, we cannot go nowhere. And I'm saying, reel that in.
Yeah.
Reel that in.
Yeah.
They're little feeling beings. Allow them to feel. Allow them to, create that safe space that they can come ball.
Yeah.
Because I'm feeling out of it. Hush them. Get some ice cream. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Be a parent. Stand with them. And my daughter came when the pandemic just started, maybe about 3 months in, and sat on my foot, wrap up her hand around my foot, do the crisscross around my leg. I'm in the kitchen and she goes, I gotta go out, Mom. I gotta go out. Oh my God, I gotta go out. And she's looking at me like, I'm getting house fever. And I'm looking at her. I grabbed the video. I was like, oh my God, look at what's happening. Look at what's happening to this child right now. But she wasn't hiding from the camera, and I know what she was saying to me was true. So in spite of the curfew, in spite of what was happening, I said, well, guess what? No.
Fine.
I'm going to find a bush and carry my daughter today.
Yes.
Because, the powers
She
that
needs
be not going to
help.
rescue mine.
Yeah.
So I took her out.
Yeah.
I took her out. We went for a dip, right? And we went over curfew time and then speed like bats out of hell to get home. But she had an adventure.
Yeah.
She had an adventure. It
Yeah.
was something that she needed. So it is giving your children these little pockets, escape.
Absolutely.
All right, well, we're going to talk some more
Absolutely.
about working on finding those solutions. And in particular, Desi-Ann, I want you to spend some time talking about some research. So Desi-Ann did some amazing research on relationships, especially those that need healing. So we're going to go to that when we come back. Remember, guys, we want to hear your comments. So go ahead, put your comments and questions in the chat, and we'll respond to them. Stronger together. Right back.
We are property professionals. We do everything real estate, from buying and selling residential properties to rentals. For all your commercial needs, whether you're buying, selling, or renting. For resort and luxury properties, we are the experts. Property management, we do that too. We are the property professionals. We do everything real estate. We are Sagicor Property Services.
Hi, I am Stacy-Ann Smith, and I've been having a fascinating conversation here with my panelists. We're talking about how to strengthen relationships in a pandemic. Gavin Goff is an attorney, and he is a father, family man overall. We have Colleen Diedrich, who is an expert on set. She's an author as well as relationship coach. And right next to me is Desi-Ann Richards, who is a guidance counselor and also an author. We're going to hear more about the details of her book. But just before I get to that, let me just give you a quick reminder. You can give your comments, questions, put them in the chat, and we'll respond. And also remember your free $5 claim. Like you get $5 just for participating and being a part of the webinar. So remember to claim that. We've been talking about family. We've been talking about relationships. And right before we went to that last break, Colleen, you were talking about being very deliberate and taking your children out, finding things that you know will engage them. I want you to just shift a little bit to households, families, which would have already been dysfunctional before it hit this, let's call COVID a snag, right? You would have had abusive situations. I mean, we've seen the news, we've heard that there are situations that were untenable before, and now children would get somewhat of a respite by going to school. Women who are abused, even men too, because that happened to, would have some, you breeze out the house a little bit and you get away from the pressure cooker a little bit, but now there is no escape. What can you do?
Ooh, that one is tricky.
Strong.
That one is tricky. And the thing is this, what I would say is I want to applaud the powers that be, because I've heard the one and few times that I actually listen to the radio, them advertising helplines for persons, children, and for adults to avail themselves to. And what I would say is this: call. Call, because as you rightly said just now, sometimes school was the escape from the abusive father, or the person, the pedophile or whatnot. And so as much as possible, avail yourself to that.
Yeah.
You take up the phone and call somebody, ask for help, right? Outside of that, the thing is this: not everybody in the family is usually dysfunctional. So there is one member of family that is the tyrant, that's the dragon, and so on. But then somebody else is privy to what's going on.
Yeah.
And so as much as possible, rescue your children, rescue yourself, call and talk to somebody, because you could survive it when, you are away at work.
Yeah.
You come home in the night and so on. But when you have to go through this for a protracted period of time, that is detrimental to your physical and your mental well-being.
Yeah.
So my thing is to say to the families, avail yourself to some assistance.
Yeah.
Make use of that, right? The other thing too is sometimes create some space. Take the children to granny and to auntie and so on. You go as well. Because sometimes the situation is exacerbated because we are in this time, tight confine and so on.
Yeah.
So this is a part of your argument. I'm going to take the children over to so and so, right? And most of them are usually open to that idea, even if it is for one day. And this gives you the opportunity to talk about it. I know for a lot of women who are being abused, this business of actually articulating is so difficult.
Yeah.
Right. But then the thing is this: when it is that you have that to face every day, then it's more in your face. Women will tell you that they're not accustomed to being abused every day. Right. There is something that triggers him or her, right? Because as you rightly said, there are some men who have to deal with women who are getting physical and so on. There is something that triggers them. So now that you are home every day in each other's face, this is an opportunity. This is your escape to say, okay, honey, I'm going to take the baby away. And they're usually that much more open to it. Seek help.
Yeah.
Seek help.
As a guidance counselor.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Right.
I was going to interject.
You would have the students who would, come to the office and say, Miss, this is happening, and you would be able to observe certain things. How has COVID impacted your ability to be that intervention for the students?
Although, schools are out face-to-face, but schools are fully functional online. It means there's a transition with the job and an adjustment of how you administer yourself, but school is fully functional. So the guidance and counseling unit in every single school in Jamaica is fully functional. And by now, the safe space has been eroded in that your guidance counselor's number now. Students call you any hour of the day, they have free access to you. So as it relates to abuse, children know the only ones probably we are concerned about are the ones that don't have access to the technology. They don't have the device. They don't have the phone. And the accessibility cuts them off. But however, those who do have it, they are privy to their guidance counselor's number. Remember, we have guidance classes every day, every week, and it's fully functional. So there is an outlet. If there's really a need, there's an outlet. Secondly, as it relates to, I know St. Mary's College, I'm one of the guidance counselors there. There are online forms now. So if you feel burdened, I've counted parents overseas who are going through relationship issues. They call me, Miss, can I talk to you? You have referral forms. So the modality has changed, but the wheel is still turning. So there are outlets, and as you said, Colleen, there are help hotlines that are widely available on social media, they are known. So if students need help, they should know where to go. As I said, the only students we're really concerned about are those in some macabush where the accessibility, as you said, Stacey, I remember your example. There was, I don't know where it was, where a student had to go to the teacher's house to get the work. You understand? So for some students, the accessibility is so bad that there is no direct contact because they don't have the phone, they don't have the data, they don't have any of those things. Those are students we're most concerned about.
What about being your brother's keeper? I mean, at this
Yeah.
point when you are supposed to be physically distant, how can you be your brother's keeper? Gavin, I would imagine that you have a circle of friends and people who you check in. How do you reach out, or do you? I mean, if you ever are aware that you have a brethren or a relative or somebody who is either in an abusive situation or who is the abuser. I mean, do you get involved? Has COVID changed that perspective at all?
Thankfully, I don't have any friends who have either been abused or are abusers.
Yeah.
But I do know people who know people. You know?
Yeah.
And I do think that over this last 9-month period or so, I think that it has been more difficult for people to want to get involved than before. I think also because we're not seeing each other as much, it's even when you're communicating, even in electronic means, you're not always able to pick up the clues and the little hints that would have been obvious to you before. You know, the kind of way the body language tells you something.
Yeah.
Maybe even physical signs of bruising or just a kind of a sadness behind the eyes. You don't really always get a chance to have that translated, over WhatsApp or even over a phone call.
Yeah.
And especially when we're talking about men, if you're not at the bar drinking a rum, you're not really going to get the true.
You're not gonna hear.
You're not going to hear it. A lot
Why
of
is
men.
that though? Why, Gavin? Why?
I just so wired. We're not necessarily going to feel comfortable expressing ourselves in a different format than we are really usually accustomed to. So it will take some adjustment, as everything else. It will take some adjustment, and perhaps many of us felt that COVID and especially the lockdowns were going to be a lot more temporary than they have turned out to be.
Yeah.
So the need to kind of change your frame of mind and how you interact with your brethren. You wouldn't necessarily have seen the need to start making that adaptation yet.
Yeah.
But I think we're now realizing that
We're in the
this
long
is
haul.
this is
We're
kind of
in
here
for
to
the long
stay.
haul.
We are going to have to adjust how we interact. It's my brethren Jerome's birthday today. Big up Jerome. And I said to him, boy, come over, let's have a drink. And he said, no, it's tough because I'm dealing with his wife and his children. But he said later on this week. And, it meant a lot to me that he was still open to us having that kind of conversation over a drink, because it is an important part of our interaction as brethren. If I pick up the phone and call him, we're going to talk and make sure everything's all right, but you're not going to get round to the real nitty-gritty unless I lick a rum in the mix. So,
The truth.
But
the truth.
Isn't there value
The
though
truth.
in shifting that? Because and I hate this word, if we've had to all pivot.
Adapt. Change.
And change and move in a different direction. Shouldn't we be talking about changing that dynamic? The fact that you have to talk. I mean, even in how you socialize your own son, to be more open and to talk about how he's feeling, why he's feeling, and encouraging him to investigate that, to process that. Because sometimes you're upset, and when you stop and think about it, and you look back, you say, why do I feel the way I feel? It's so important for us to do that as human beings, and not many people do that. I find fewer men, in my experience, do that. Stop and process. It's a level of emotional intelligence that I find many people don't invest in building that muscle.
and just can I say that, as a father of a young boy, it's so important to me to let him understand that it's okay to be vulnerable, that it's okay to be affectionate.
Yes.
You know, he and I are very, very, very
You know,
close.
tell him say
Yes.
if he cry, he being a girl, right? Come on, go and fight somebody when you say that. God no.
I will tell him he's a big boy though, and he's not a baby anymore, so not to
Okay,
cry. But
all right.
a different thing that. I'm allowed to tell him that.
Yeah.
But part of it as well is understanding that we can socialize our boys differently to make them into more sensitive men, you know, who are actually better men overall in terms of their work life, in terms of their family life.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that
Yeah.
if one of the side effects of us being more at home is being able to have a more hands-on approach in terms of influencing our children towards being gentler, towards being more communicative, I'll take it, you know, I'll take it.
We're winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're winning.
I mean, just the other day I was on a Zoom call, and I, for some reason, thought, I mean, my son came in and he was crying and he wanted just to be comforted, and I thought that I could hold him off the camera. So I'm on screen, right, hushing my son.
No, want to get to
And
the laugh.
I thought
Only Gavin could have
I
said that
thought he
could have
was
worked.
off camera. Right? And everybody on this Zoom call, you could see them kind of looking around.
Like,
Anyway, afterwards, I learned that actually he was very much
Was in the
inside the
camera,
frame.
yeah.
But everybody was just like, you know, that's cool, you know.
Normal.
That's what's happening now. That's a new normal.
That's
you know, nobody
the new
was.
work from home.
And if you recall, remember that there was a video, some
CNN?
Yes.
I don't forget that.
That's the one where the guy's daughter comes in.
Your
and
baby's coming in.
Baby coming in, and then the
Your
other
nanny
child
ran
coming
came
in. It was the mother who came running in.
running.
And like, that's what's
Real
happening.
life.
Yeah.
That's now
That's
the
authentic.
normal that
Yeah.
we're having. People
Yeah.
understand that this demarcation between where you work and where you live,
Yeah,
you know,
doesn't
it's
exist.
definitely gone. So yeah, if I'm on a call and I need to be hushing my baby at the same time, it's
Yeah.
okay. You understand that is how we have to
Yeah.
live, and that is how we have to get the work done,
Yeah.
while also still not neglecting our responsibilities as a parent.
for sure. Well, we're going to take another quick break, but I'm dying to get into some very interesting data that our panelist Stacy-Ann got about relationships, and
And bun.
let me tell you, you know,
Gavin.
is offering 8 secrets that wives can learn from the other woman.
Yes, please.
You will definitely
High five, Mark.
want to hear
That's right.
this one. All right, remember, send your questions, put your comments in
Yeah.
the chat. We will definitely be responding, and we're gonna come right back and get into that part of the conversation after this.
You can open a Sagicor Bank savings account from anywhere. You could be here completing the application, or here uploading your information, or out here receiving your account details in just 48 hours. Go online and open your Sagicor Bank savings account today.
Stronger together. We're talking about how to strengthen relationships during this here pandemic. I'm Stacy-Ann, and I've been having a very good conversation with these people on the set. And there is this one particular lady who's sitting exactly beside me called Stacy-Ann Richards. She wrote one book, you see. You hear Gavin talk about this whole bun thing. Let me tell you, say, it is just awesome. And guys, you can use your free claim, your $5 claim, towards purchasing Stacy-Ann's book on Gustas' platform. Please put your questions in the chat and we will be happy. She's definitely going to be answering those questions, because I know when you hear about this book, you're going to have a lot of questions. Stacy-Ann,
Yes.
in the context of relationships,
Yeah.
we know that sometimes things go awry,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You did some research about one particular thing that impacts relationships. We're going to talk about money,
Yeah.
which impacts relationships in the next segment. We have an expert to talk about that. But you learned some things about infidelity and how it affects your relationship.
Yeah.
Talk to me first and foremost. Give me maybe the main things that you learned from the research that you did.
Well, the main things I learned was one, vulnerability in any relationship is crucial. So the book starts with actually one question to women is, can you handle the truth? Because oftentimes in a relationship, this idea of authenticity and transparency and safe space and tell me the truth and just
No, me can't tell
me
you,
the
me
truth
can't handle the
now.
truth.
Be
No.
honest with me
Me
now.
can't handle
I
it.
want to know the truth.
No, me can't handle it. No, me I tell you the truth. I'm being vulnerable. I cannot handle the truth.
Women also say that to their mates. And so the first thing I ask in the book is, can you really handle the truth? Do you understand the scope of what you are requesting? And so it's very important that you learn to create an environment of truth. I am a guidance counselor by nature, and I can tell you this. If I want to connect with my clients, the first thing I establish is authenticity. This is a safe space. There's nothing you can tell me. There's nothing you can share with me that's going to change my mind about you, because oftentimes we tell the truth based on how we're going to look. We tell the truth based on how we're going to be perceived. And so it's very important that establishing that safe space where you can be honest with me is important. And so a part of the findings in the relationship is encouraging spouses, husband and wife, to sit at a table of truth, authenticity, vulnerability. Take off the makeup, like take off the mask. I want to see what you really look like, because if you're going to love me, you're going to love all of me.
Okay.
So I talk to wives about creating that space, that environment of truth. And of course, for the woman, it's learning to balance the rational and the emotional mind. Now, nobody's going to share the truth on a table that's going to be violently emotional. Gavin, true or false?
True.
So it means, therefore, when you're creating that space, as women, we must learn to balance the rational mind and the emotional mind. Absolutely very important. So I encourage wives to really lean on your rational mind. So that means what you hear is not with your emotions. So if I come home and say, baby, I'm not happy, is me making not happy? You're not the man didn't say that. He said, I am not happy.
But to be fair though, Stacy-Ann,
Yeah.
it is hard for you not to take it personal, because this is a relationship between two persons. And if the other person is not happy, then it's almost automatic that you're going to feel as if you are part of the reason they are not happy.
But Stacy, the last thing my teacher told me was, ask you make an ass out of you and me. Allow us to have the conversation. I am not happy does not mean you do not make me happy. Because sometimes, Stacy, self-discovery too is important part of happiness. You ask me to tell you the truth.
That's right.
And I am sharing with you the truth. So it's asking women to hear, perceive, process more on the rational mind and less on the irrational side, so that you can have an authentic, easy conversation. And I'm a woman too. All the time women look at me, Gavin, as, really? Like you really ask your husband to tell you the truth? I do.
No, well, it reminds me of when you were showing Gavin the book earlier, and Gavin said,
No.
Me can't carry on this. No. Me cannot carry it home because
no, it can't pass through my door. But yes, I often say, tell me the truth, and it's important for me to sit. I'm dying, my heart is palpitating, I actually reach on the ground and roll, but I must remain composed enough to have the conversation.
right.
Because for me, authenticity trumps everything, every single thing. I cannot help what I don't know. I cannot help what I don't see. It's important for me to see and hear. So the book encourages women to create that space for vulnerability, where there is less of condemnation. I know that's hard work. Colleen, I know that's difficult. Less of condemnation. But if it is, we don't want to live a deception for 20 odd years. I prefer to live the truth than to live deceiving myself in a marriage of 25 years. I want to come to the table with authenticity.
But
Is
I'm
it
saying ignorance
easy?
is bliss, though.
Yeah.
Don't it?
But for
Don't
how
it, Gavin?
long?
I feel
That's
like
all I
I
think. It's okay, honey. You can
you tell me. Don't it? That they must set you up, don't it?
No. Have you noticed the way that we have demonized the truth?
Yes, that's true.
We have made it so that it's not okay for us to talk the truth. And so
true,
we would
Khalid.
much prefer to live and perpetuate a
A
lie
lie.
than to actually say that this is no longer working for me. I
True.
actually want you to start doing this, and this.
True.
It's ridiculous.
So you said, tell me the truth, but you don't really mean it.
No, I'm
No,
sorry.
but me tell you already, so me don't want you to
No,
truth,
I
you know.
have
Me
to
not-
hear
I
that.
understand.
me not interested.
It's the
Me not-
only
me can't handle
acceptable
it.
currency in my space. I'm sorry.
I like that.
High five, sweet, high
Yes,
five.
I like that. I like
Only
that.
acceptable currency.
It's true,
Sorry, no
but
thanks.
it does take
Tell me
time,
the truth.
ladies, because I didn't assimilate this overnight.
Mm-hmm.
It does. The more you practice hearing the truth, is the easier the truth becomes. And so you don't start with all the truth first, you know, Stacey. You give me a little piece.
Just a little piece at a
Just push your foot through the door and give me a little.
No, don't do that.
But Khalid, Khalid,
Sit down here at chair.
yeah, no, but for some of us like Stacy-Ann, we can't get all the truth one time. Our brains must practice to assimilate the truth and become comfortable
You see, but
again.
let me tell you what it is.
Yeah.
You see, the thing is this, with my daughter, I have cultured that space.
Yes.
Right? So from she little bit, she understand. Come to me
Yeah.
with the truth. I will never, ever, and I have never punished her for telling me the truth. I don't care
Yeah.
what it is that she did.
Yeah.
Yes.
However, if me hear her, she tell a lie. People dead. You understand what I mean? John, you get me? Talk the truth to me. And that is the same thing in my relationship.
Yes.
Tell me the truth.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if we come to this space where we recognize that the thing that the person is telling you really and truly is just concretizing that I am still human.
Yeah.
This ridiculous, this ludicrous belief that we have that we are in a relationship, so it's only me you
Perfect.
love, it's only me you want, it's only me you see. I mean, get the hell,
like it.
wake
I
up,
like
honey,
it. Yeah.
wake up, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Let's get realistic. So don't
Yeah.
temper the thing, sister.
Yeah, but Khalid, you
Not
said something
temper the
important.
thing.
You said over time you trained her. So training takes time. We're going to train Stacey. Training
No, I'm a
takes
lost
time.
cause. I'm a lost cause.
Training takes time.
I want to hear Gavin's
Yes.
perspective on this.
Gavin.
Deep side.
I just want to say I had nothing to do with that book. I know my quotes in that book.
Disclaimer. No, disclaimer.
First mistake today.
Perfectly.
I think that, honestly, I really think that it would be wonderful if we could all speak the truth all the time.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that honesty is the best policy is a great idea.
Yes. Stress idea.
Yeah, but I mean, we're speaking about relationships,
Yeah.
parent and child. It's still different when we're speaking about man and woman argument.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still feel that there is a space for truth in terms of knowing yourself, knowing your partner, and knowing the acceptable boundaries for that relationship. I said to you earlier that my wife told me that there's no healing.
there's no discussion.
There's no healing from infidelity, right?
Done.
You slip, you slide. That's it. So that's why, respectfully, I'm not buy a book. Because I'm not trying to.
You're being true to yourself.
I'm being true to myself, and I'm being true to the boundaries that she has set
Established, yes.
over 18 years ago, which are you slip, you slide. All right?
Yes.
No, if, let's say for argument's sake,
Yes.
I did slip,
Yes.
am I going to now say, you know what? Let me buy this book
I give it to her.
and give it to you, and maybe I can
sleep
change.
from that night.
I don't know. I don't know that that's the truth for us.
Yeah.
No, could my wife handle that truth?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, she could in the whole sense of things. She handle it by making sure I leave the house. That's how she would handle the truth.
Yeah, but infidelity isn't the worst thing that can happen to a
Well, for her, it
relationship.
is. She said,
In my
prefer
practice,
box me.
no. In
Yeah,
my practice, what
yeah.
I have discovered is this: if it is that people are able now to deal with this thing properly, right, get the necessary intervention, you are able to build back a solid
Strong.
relationship, because a lot of these relationships are predicated on lies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Nothing
that-
is there, and for peace sake has held the most miserable unions together, because I'm not going to do that. And this happy wife, happy life thing, we need to bond that with fire.
Well, I
Please
agree with
and
that.
thanks.
I agree with that.
Hello.
I agree with
So
that.
no.
Yeah.
But I want
Most
to be
definitely.
careful though, because
Yeah.
a lot of men, to be quite frank,
Yeah.
believe that, bun isn't the worst thing.
Yeah.
And that I see plenty women take back plenty man.
Yeah.
And I don't see why I can't get take back. People kind of feel that I must get a one and a second chance.
Yeah,
too.
no, see.
And I don't think sometimes.
Just straight red card, sir. I don't know, sir. Straight red card. Oh, even a yellow. Yeah, sir.
I don't know. I kind of feel sometimes that knowing where that boundary is and knowing that, this might work for somebody else, but this not gonna work for our relationship. I don't know. That doesn't seem like a bad idea to me.
However, Gavin, being married for 18 years, and Colleen will attest that you change. I'm
That's
not
true.
the wife.
That's
true. That's
I am
for sure.
nowhere near the woman my husband got married to, and my husband
true.
today is nowhere near. It means we would have gone through
Yeah, you grow together, grow and
several
develop.
changes.
Yeah.
And so transparency at each phase became extremely crucial.
Yes, that's
because you're changing, and I need to be aware that you
Yeah.
don't like this anymore. You prefer this.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
let me just
Okay.
bring us back to a couple of things.
Yeah.
8 powerful secrets of wives
Yes.
learn from the other woman.
Yes.
Let me tell you, secret number 1.
Yes.
And we touched on it before,
Yes.
Intentional attention.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Very important. Stacy-Ann writes, as wives, we must understand that wishing, dreaming, having good intentions, great desires, and an honest heart will not heal and create the marriage that we want. Those elements by themselves just do
don't
not cut it.
No.
Yeah?
No.
Do you agree with that, Gavin?
I agree with that. I might buy the book. No. No, I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that, I don't know if that's something that, unfortunately, you have to learn from the other woman, but definitely.
Well, I asked the men.
Yeah, that's true.
came-
Because her research was
Yes,
asking the men
asking
specifically.
the men.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, let me just touch on secret number 8. Make self-love and care your
course.
first
Oh,
priority.
Colleen, listen.
Yeah.
You have, Stacey, can I be honest? Gavin.
Yes.
When I finished perusing those surveys, a heaviness came on me. When I read what the men wrote and I assimilated everything, I felt vulnerable and I felt as if the task was insurmountable. And now I know that I must first love and empower me so that I can be the best wife to my husband.
Yes, that's
There is no way I can satisfy everyone's needs. I must build me up first.
That's true.
And so making self-care and self-love a pride. I'm looking good not for him,
Yeah,
for me.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Agreed.
Okay.
So those things are key in making sure that you are, because after a while, if you love yourself, if you love your spouse more than you, then you're lost.
Yes.
And
That's
I
true.
want to be found at all times.
And I'll just share this quick analogy. You ever been in the plane and the flight attendant giving you that thing and they say if air pressure drops, the things will come down. Make sure you put on your mask first before you
definitely.
attend to a child or
Most
somebody else.
definitely.
I mean, it's very important that you
Most definitely.
ensure that you are okay and you're
Most
making
definitely.
sure that you are a whole person, because a lot of people are in relationships and they expect the other person to make them happy.
No.
And it is a fairy
No.
tale that is
And-
of the worst order.
And men, Gavin can say, men are attracted to women who know where they're going,
That is
who
true.
know what they want, who have a life and a future for themselves,
That is
because they are already in motion, and all you're doing is to add to their lives.
Yeah.
You're not creating a life for them; they have their own life.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Well, guys, we are going to go as fiery as this segment is. We have to take on this other
Yes,
major
most
issue that
definitely.
impacts relationships.
We need some help, Stacey.
No, we need some help, and we're
Best
calling
help.
the big guns, right?
The
So guys,
big guns.
continue to share your comments, ask your questions. We are responding in the chat. This is Stronger Together, strengthening relationships during a pandemic. Soon come back.
Healthcare for your child can be very expensive. The bills can easily add up. But with School Companion Health Plan, you can cover up to 80% of your child's healthcare cost for as little as $5,810 for the year. Sign up online or text STUDENT to 876-322-2384 for more information on Sagicor Life School Companion Health Plan.
Stronger together, strengthening relationships in a pandemic. We've been having a really good conversations looking at family, parenting, relationships. I mean, what happens when things go wrong? And one of the things that we know has gone wrong for many, many families, not just here in Jamaica, but right across the world, is an economic impact. Well, we decided to go for an expert to join in this part of the conversation. She is Mischa McLeod-Hines, Assistant Vice President, Capital Markets at Sagicor Investments. And she's joining us here for us to ask her the tough questions because, believe me, this money thing is not a simple thing. And we want to start, Mischa, by asking you to share with us a little bit about how your clients, your stakeholders, what's the sense of the impact you're picking up from the people in your circle?
Okay, Stacy. So, hi everyone. The thing that we've seen within all of our clients is that they're impacted just as we are impacted. So they're now going through a time where there's just a lot of uncertainty, a lot of anxiety. Some of them have lost their jobs. Some of them have pay cuts. We've actually tried to reach out to them more often to communicate, to say, we're here to help you. Right, because the uncertainty and the anxiety that they've been going through is really just overwhelming for them. We were all going through it, but we needed to ensure that we continue the conversations with our clients. Yes, we were trying to sort out what we needed to do internally as a company, but one of the things that we thought was fit was to ensure that we kept in contact with our clients through constant communication.
When you talk about managing it, first of all, looking at your internal team, because that's so important at a time like this, because as a customer, as people on the outside, we tend to say, oh, well, we want this service. No, we needed to do this, that, and the other thing. Not recognizing that people who work in an organization are human beings and are also dealing with that. So talk to me a little bit about what that was like, trying to, first of all, wrap your mind around this thing that dropped on us like a bomb, right?
I agree with you. It happened so frequently. I remember the first time we had a lockdown, it was March 10th or 12th. I actually left the island March 10th. And I was like, oh my gosh, are they going to let me back in?
And you get stuck?
No, I actually came in. It was just 2 days that I was going out for. But I was actually concerned, you know, what's going to happen? Am I going to come back in? But what we did at Sagicor is that we took a very proactive approach. We had a lot of meetings. We thought about how are we going to help the team to work from home. Luckily, we already had a work from home procedure and policy in place. It was easy for us to say, okay, fine, this is what we're going to do. All of our team members, ensure that they have the necessary tools in order to work from home. So that part of it was very easy. But regardless, we still had a lot of meetings. We need to keep the team engaged. They're no longer coming in. And then the next step for us was ensuring that our clients are still connected to us, because they themselves are going through a lot of things, whether it be, at home, at their own jobs, their financial pressures. So we needed to ensure that we were here for them as well. So for us, it was a lot of meetings, a lot of planning, a lot of ensuring that we stayed in contact with our clients.
And then making some very short-term
decisions and initiatives.
And changing things like on the fly.
We spoke about it in the meeting today. We had to implement it the following day just because we needed to ensure that we are still operating as a company and as a big company, as Sagicor Group that touches on commercial banking and investment banking, health insurance, life insurance. We touch a large number of just persons in Jamaica and outside, so we needed to ensure that we were staying in touch with them.
So beyond just trying to collect yourself and respond to things like those protocols, government put in so many requirements, all of them to help to keep us all safe. But it must have been tricky, not just managing that, but also responding to client needs, because you talk about people who are impacted, who have lost their jobs, who now can't make them loan payment. They were good customers all along, but now, they're falling behind. How did you respond to that?
We had a number of initiatives. We already had an online banking platform, but what we did was to strengthen that online banking platform. So it allowed persons to continue paying their bills, they can pay their insurance premiums, they're able to transfer money. When it is that the senior citizens were able to come in, we ensured that we got them in and out as quickly as possible. So we had special lines for senior citizens. For persons that weren't senior citizens, we also had the ability for them to make appointments. You make an appointment with your financial advisor, you come in, you see them as quick as possible, and you get them out. Separate and apart from that, we had a number of other initiatives in terms of the hospitality sector. So the hospitality sector or the tourism sector is one of the most affected sectors. So what we did in terms of health insurance was to partner with certain companies, and we had reduced health insurance premiums for that particular sector. So we tried to ensure that we were touching each person, because we understand that they're affected. Some of them have lost their jobs, they're not able to meet their payments, they're not able to meet their credit card payments, but we thought we needed to ensure and let them know that we are also here for you. One additional thing that we did was to reduce our fees, some temporary, some permanent, but we reduced our fees. We reduced our RTGS fees, so that's when you transfer funds from one bank to another, so we reduced those fees. And as well, we also reduced our online trading fees, so you're able to still trade if it is that you want to at reduced costs and fees.
What would you say would be some of the more common requests that your clients had? I mean, were people asking more for a payment holiday, for instance, than online banking access? Just to give us a sense of what people needed in the moment.
Right. So a lot of the requests that we received was really for deferral of payments or to extend the payment. So for example, if it is that you had a loan, the loan matures in 2021, they were asking for a deferral of payments, which would naturally push back the maturity date of the loan. So they weren't able, so we understood that persons weren't able to meet the payments each month. So a lot of the requests were, can I pay a reduced amount? Can I have a 3-month holiday for payments? Credit cards is pretty much the same thing. So a lot of the requests that we received was really for deferral of payments.
Mischa, let's take it from the individual, the family unit now. So I'm married, my husband is now on a 50% pay cut. I have lost my job, I've been made redundant. So now we'll go from 2 salary to just half of 1 salary. What is the first thing? I just get the news now that the work gone. What's the first thing I should do?
The first thing that you need to do when your income is that significantly affected and impacted is actually to look at your budgets. Right? So we all know that a budget is income and expenses. So for those that don't use a budget, you need to start using a budget. It helps.
Budget.
Right. We need to know how much money we're spending. We need to know what we're spending on. We need to know what are essential, what are not essential. So the first thing that you need to do is really to relook at your budget. So first thing is to look at your expenses. Of course, your budget is going to be itemized in terms of the expenses. Which one of these expenses can we cut? What don't we need? In practical terms, if it is that you used to spend $50,000 at the supermarket each month, you used to buy chicken, then you're going to have to switch to something cheaper, buy tin food. So these are some of the discussions that you're going to have with you, within your relationship. Look at your expenses. What can I cut? What's not important? If it is that you, have an entertainment budget, well, that's definitely the first thing you should cut, especially because, we would have had the protocols from the government, but that's things that you would need to cut.
Right.
The other thing is really to look at your income. So yes, your income has actually been affected, but some of us have talents that we can turn our talents or hobbies into income streams. What am I doing that I used to do on the side that I'm able to increase or that I can turn into a revenue stream.
But
So it's
Mischa, not
no, some people crochet. So some people crochet. Some people do arts. You can buy things, make things, sell it.
Yeah,
you can sell, crochet. Some person, there are a number of different little arts and crafts things that people do. Pick up painting,
for real.
anything that you used to do as a hobby.
Look
Yes.
at YouTube. Most definitely, as Mischa said, persons have used this lockdown time to pivot on their creative elements. I'm thinking about the great MTN family, the Virgos, Asaf and Alicia. And so there's a whole dynamic taking place, and that is another income.
Yeah, but
Perfect.
no. Those people already have a come on now. Let us be realistic now. They already have a huge following, which is how you monetize on those channels.
Yeah, but
we're talking about
element. If you are creative,
regular man in the street.
Yeah, but
I think the regular person in the street for you. So some persons are a little bit shy and don't want to do the camera.
yes.
So
Yeah,
for
come
me,
on,
that's a
Gavin, now
lot
do that, none
old
at all,
school.
you know.
I'm not.
Gavin is not here for it. He's not doing a YouTube channel.
Not doing a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But you do have some persons that don't have a following,
yeah.
but you can build it.
Yes.
Right? And you are at home, you have all of this time. You can try to build it. There are a number of ways on YouTube that have videos in terms of what you can turn your hobbies into revenue stream.
Yeah.
So YouTube may not be the perfect fit for you, but you may crochet on a Saturday.
Yeah.
You may turn crocheting into that. You may do, like a little bit of painting.
Yes.
Some people will buy these things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mask
A
making.
lot of people went into making masks
Yeah.
and made a set of money from that.
As you talk about making masks, we heard a news story recently that said this year, I think more people started a business than, I think Companies Office of Jamaica recorded the highest number of persons who registered a business.
Oh, yeah.
But is it really a good time to start a business though, Mischa?
Necessity is the mother of opportunity.
I love that.
And intervention. It is. When it is that you find yourself in a situation, you start to think of how am I going to get myself out? You don't think about these things when it is that you're safe and secure. You're in your comfort zone. You're getting your salary at the end of the month. Your thinking is different. When it is that you have to say, okay, fine, how am I going to feed my kids? What am I going to eat tomorrow? I have no money coming in at the end of the month. You start to think about what next am I going to do? So you start to think outside of the box. And it pushes you and propels you in order to think of different and innovative ways in order to bring money in. So yes, we have to, and you don't like the word,
Pivot.
but we have to pivot.
Yeah, adopt to change.
And that pivoting though, I find
Change.
is a little more challenging when you have children.
It
That's
is.
true.
Maybe your children are at a stage where it's hard for them to understand that I cannot get my
KFC.
favorite this and KFC on a Friday that we normally do.
Yes,
We can't
fast
do that
food every
again.
Friday. Yeah.
How do you talk to your children though about the transition and the pivoting that needs to happen? How you have that conversation with them?
I think it's really just communication. I believe the kids, depending on the age that they are, so my kids are 10 and 7. I've had to say, okay, this is what we used to do. This is what we're no longer able to do.
Yeah.
Right? So I think they have an understanding of what's going on, right? They may not have the detail and the numbers. My 11-year-old actually said, he was actually telling me every day I came home, Mommy, CNN says that the numbers are here. And he was actually like worrying, and I'm like, stop watching CNN. You're getting too involved in the numbers. So I think depending on the age that they are, they do have an understanding of what's going on. They may not know the details that we do, but I think they have an understanding. So that should be the ability to open the floor to say, this is what we used to do. This is what we're no longer able to do, because they're already adapting to the change. They're already adapting to the change of not being able to see their friends. They're already adapting to the change of not going to school. They're already adapting to, not, going to school in the morning and hugging their teacher because everything is on a screen. So I think that's just how you start it. This is what we were able to do. this is just, how things are. This is what we're going to ask you to do, work with me.
Yeah.
Let's see how we can get through, this pandemic. We also started movie nights. I mean, we did movie nights. It wasn't as difficult because I have 2 boys. So, they like pretty much the same thing, and the younger one kind of mimics the older one.
Right.
So, I have it a little bit easier. So, but we did things as well.
I have a niece, and she has really gotten involved because of my sister, her mother, in gardening. And in the kitchen garden, you raise some peppers, some some grown provisions, stuff like that, which helps, I think, young people, young minds, understand the importance, 1, of being resourceful, and 2, it allows them to be involved in the solution. Even if it's something like, encouraging savings in terms of the light bill and the water bill, reinforcing those messages which you've been saying all along, but it didn't really make that much of an impact when it was 2 full salaries. No, we're only on quarter. Some of those things I think can also help us in terms of.
And something you said earlier, Mischa, reminded me of a point that Colleen made earlier about having the conversation, bringing everybody into the conversation, and why it's so important to sit with your children and just be real. You don't want to burden them with too much, but to explain that
this is what's happening.
this is what's happening. We have to shift, and being there to for them constantly, so that they know and they can appreciate what is happening. You also talked about the necessity being the mother of invention. From a financial standpoint, is there room now? I mean, I guess you can speak specifically for Sagicor in terms of persons who may need capital to start their business. Is that happening right now, or are banks saying, boy, we're kind of waiting to see what is happening?
Good question.
Well, speaking from Sagicor's perspective, absolutely. I think there is an opportunity for us to have a conversation. I think that's the beginning. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk through what you want to do. As bankers and as advisors, we have to ensure that we are trying to give to our clients what they need to get in order to help them. Because definitely helping them helps our country and nation as a whole. The more we have persons thinking of good ideas that will develop our economy, especially now when it is that the economy has taken a little bit of a pitfall, then we want to be able to help our clients to say, well, this is what you want to do. Let's come in and have a conversation with us, and let's see how we can help you. So yes, absolutely, we are here to help our clients. We just need to have a conversation.
Here's some good ideas. So you gentlemen who always wanted all along to become a music producer or an entertainer, now might not be the time to call Sagicor for that money.
But we have to do our due diligence.
We have to do the due diligence. So good ideas only, folks.
Guys, remember, if you have questions, now is the time to put your questions in the chat. We are responding to those questions because we want to hear from you also. What do you think about this? Gavin said, no, it's not the time to become a musician, but suppose this is your life.
Your year.
My year. My year. Regardless of everything else I've won, this is my 2020, right? And I'm definitely looking at getting into the music business. But seriously though, guys, thank you so very much. I mean, I think we got some really, really good nuggets. It's really been a tough year, but based on what we have talked about today, there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, of course.
And I think what is very important is for us to recognize that, first of all, we're all human and we really are in the same boat together, paddling down the stream. We are all in it together. And it's so important for us to look out for each other and to start with truth and love, and recognizing that it is so important, even from an organizational standpoint, as Mischa said, looking at what your stakeholders, and in the family, your stakeholders is your husband, your wife, your children, just really reaching out, being open, being vulnerable. And guys, as we close, as I said, keep sending your questions. We're gonna be here for a little bit to just respond to them. But remember that now more than ever, we need to be our brother's keeper. We need to be there for our children and to be vulnerable and to have those conversations. It's not the time for you to say, boy, for a peaceful life.
Avoid.
Hate that, and practice avoidance. But it's so important for you to have those tough conversations, as Stacy-Ann said, and as Mischa said, talk about those have those money conversations. Talk to your children. Get everybody a seat at the table so we can stay stronger together. I'm Stacy-Ann. I've been chatting with Stacy-Ann, with Colleen, with Mischa, and with Gavin, and it's been a really, really good conversation. Please take care and make sure you have an amazing Christmas. COVID are keeping up, but we are still
Keeping
here
Christmas.
and we will continue to be stronger together. Walk good. Take care.